Do you know what it feels like to watch the people in human resources barricade the doors with chairs because they're afraid to look you in the eye while they destroy you? I saw it. I saw how my husband's 22 years of absolute loyalty turned into nothing at 12:08 in the morning. If you believe your hard work guarantees you security, this video will keep you up at night, because I'm going to tell you about the betrayal that no one dares to speak of. This is a space for real stories and calm, just a voice, nature, and truth. Today, I'm going to share something I very rarely said out loud. A few months ago, our life fell apart, suddenly, without warning, without preparation. We went through anxiety, fear, debt, loneliness, things I wouldn't wish on anyone. And if you're going through something similar, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Today, I'm going to tell you a part of my story that almost no one knows. I want you to be clear about something. I'm not a coach or a guru or anything like that. I'm a person just like you who one day had a stable life, and the next, everything crumbled. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, it's not pretty, but it's real. Because sometimes people think that behind a layoff, there's just a piece of paper, a decree, or a news item. But no, there are families, lives, sleepless nights, uncertainty, pain, and silence. Today I'm going to open my heart and tell you, in detail, what we went through from the day my husband, after 22 years of honest work, was removed from his position in the coldest and cruelest way you can imagine. This is not a fairy tale. It's not an exaggeration. It's not drama. It's a real story. If you are going through something similar, or if you feel that life sometimes pushes you without warning, stay. Because what I'm about to tell is not just what happened, but also how one keeps breathing for one more day, even when the world is collapsing on top of you. I'm going to tell you something that still weighs on our souls. Something I never imagined I would be recounting in front of a camera. Because it's one thing to see the news, hear rumors, read comments on social media, and a very different thing to live it in your own home, in your own skin. My husband worked for over 22 years at the National Tax Directorate, that institution everyone knows, the one that collects, audits, and controls the country's taxes, a place that, for many, is just another government office. But for us, for more than 2 decades, it was part of our life. He was always an upright employee, responsible, professional, polite, respectful, committed. He had a permanent position, excellent performance reviews, and months before all this, he had received recognition from the Human Resources Office itself for his good work. Imagine that irony. That's why we never thought anything could go wrong. We never imagined what was coming. It all started with something that seemed small, unjustified deductions from his salary. At first, we thought it was a simple error, that they would correct it quickly. But no, the people in human resources kept giving excuses, not answering emails, postponing meetings, saying, "We're looking into it." He followed every step of the correct procedure. He spoke with the technician, then the analyst, then the coordinator, until he had a meeting with the National Director of Human Resources. He came back completely disappointed. He told me, "She listened to me, yes, but she was more interested in her breakfast than in what I was explaining." That hurts. Not because of the breakfast, but because of the lack of respect. Still, he kept insisting. He did what was right, as always, until he decided to go to the Ministry of Labor. Not for fun, not to make a scene, but because his rights were being violated and no one was doing anything. He brought proof, explained the case, and they sided with him. We never imagined that being right would be the beginning of a nightmare. Shortly after, the presidential decree arrived. The one that affected more than 5,000 families, the one the whole country was talking about. But the hardest part wasn't the decree. It was what happened inside the National Tax Directorate, Within the institution, the moves weren't technical. They weren't based on real evaluations. They were hand-picked decisions, lists made in silence, names chosen based on criteria we will never know. While people with 20, 25, 30 years of experience were let go, the truly inefficient, the abusive, those who mistreated taxpayers, those who always had a sour look on their face, they were still there, protected, untouchable. And the worst part of all, the decisions came from the same place that had ignored my husband's complaint months before, the Human Resources Office. That's when we understood that sometimes decisions are neither fair nor humane. And so we arrived at the Friday I will never forget. It was around 7 p.m. We were at home, calm like any other Friday. He wanted to check a pending procurement process from his cell phone. It was a routine thing. He always did it. He entered his credentials, and the system wouldn't let him in. He tried again. Nothing. So he wrote in the office WhatsApp group, "Hey guys, is anyone else having trouble logging into the system?" One by one, they started to reply, "Everything's normal. I can get in. I can log in without a problem." He was the only one blocked. He looked at me and said, "It must be a user error. I'll check it on Monday." And yes, we tried to stay calm. I repeated to myself, he has a permanent position. He's an excellent professional. What could possibly happen? But deep down, we both felt that thorn in our side. On Saturday, he went to the office, alone. No one forced him. He went out of a sense of responsibility, and he couldn't get in from his regular computer either. At that point, it wasn't a coincidence. It was no longer a user error. The rumors started, the glances, the whispers, people saying something is coming, but no one knew exactly what. Still, he came home thinking it would all be cleared up on Monday. We wanted to believe it was a computer glitch. How ironic. Intuition screams before the truth does. Monday arrived, and that's when everything fell apart. That Monday, he wrote things to me that made my blood run cold. Messages I will never forget. First, everything is weird. Then, they won't let us into anything. Later, the people from the Human Resources Office are locked in their offices. They've literally barricaded the doors with chairs. I read that, and a shiver ran down my spine. What kind of government office locks itself in like that? What were they afraid of? Who were they hiding from? And then he wrote to me, "There are people walking around having anxiety attacks. People crying, clutching their chests. They're not saying anything." I felt anger, nerves, fear, all at once. But I had to reply calmly, "Stay calm, love. Wait, breathe. Don't jump to conclusions. Everything will be cleared up." Inside, I was trembling. Imagine a building full of people who don't know if they'll have a job tomorrow. Imagine the murmurs, the quick footsteps, the heavy breathing. That Monday ended, but no one knew if they would have a job on Tuesday. There was no announcement, no information, no one to face them. He came home burdened, with that look that says so much and silences even more. He just asked for a hug, and I gave him a strong one. I could feel he was restless, anxious, breathing fast. We didn't sleep that night, neither he nor I. He tossed and turned in bed. He would get up, lie back down. He checked his phone every so often. I would hug him, tell him everything was going to be okay, but inside I was broken too, until the email arrived. At 12:08 in the morning, it came in. Cold, automatic, dehumanized. "Your position has been eliminated." That sentence erased 22 years of work, just like that, in one line. No explanation, no goodbye, no thank you. He read it in silence and told me, "I'm out." And then, he broke. The tears came. He covered his eyes. He froze. I hugged him. I didn't know what to say. There are no words for a moment like that. The days that followed were the hardest. He stopped eating. He had no appetite. He didn't want anything. He only thought about the bills, the debts, how we were going to support ourselves. I watched him waste away, losing weight, with dark circles under his eyes, with a lifeless gaze, not sleeping, not even drinking water, thinking. And on top of that, the ultimate audacity, they dared to send him a satisfaction survey about the separation, as if he had resigned voluntarily, as if it had all been a friendly process. I don't know who had the nerve. Sometimes I think it was a mockery. While all that was happening, we had to find lawyers, get advice, gather documents, prepare a defense. And I, who had never needed to work formally, suddenly felt guilty. Guilty for not generating income. Guilty for not being able to help more. And still, I had to be strong for him. Hold back my tears. Cry in secret. Endure to support him. That unfair guilt felt by those who support, while no one supports them. And then came a betrayal that hurt differently. Someone with whom he had shared almost 20 years of work. Someone we considered a friend. Someone who celebrated birthdays with us, who had lunch with us, someone my husband cherished. That person knew, or at least had access to information they didn't share, so the blow would have been less severe. And afterward, they couldn't even look us in the eye. That hurts more than any degree. That kind of betrayal doesn't scream. That kind of betrayal whispers, and it hurts more. Then came the cold process of turning in his badge, packing his things, requesting access to retrieve personal files from his computer. 22 years stored there. Walking into that office after what they did was like walking on glass. It hurts. Even if you don't get cut, you don't walk that day. You float among memories that weigh you down. And to see a strong man break, I can't explain that. I saw him like a child who needed refuge, and I had to be that refuge, even when I was falling apart inside. And so we continued, day after day, with pain, with exhaustion, with anger, with injustice, with unanswered questions, but we also began to understand that we couldn't stay there, that we had to find new paths, different options, different plans, whatever was necessary. Sometimes moving forward isn't about running. Sometimes it's simply about getting up. And here I am today, telling you all this, not because I enjoy remembering, but because some stories need to be told. And just when you think you've hit rock bottom, you realize the abyss is much deeper. The emotional pain of betrayal and injustice gave way to a tangible terror, a monster that sat at our table every day, financial pressure. Suddenly, anxiety was no longer an abstract word and became a number that drilled into my head day and night, $170,000. That was the sum of our debts, a mortgage we had signed with the certainty of a secure job, with the peace of mind that we could pay it, our house, our home, the place where we had watched our dreams grow. Now every wall, every window felt like the bars of a prison, the fear of losing it, of the bank taking it away, of being left with literally nothing. That fear is an acid that corrodes you from the inside, slowly. The nights, which were already unbearable, became hell. Stress isn't just a feeling. It's the taste of metal in your mouth at 3 a.m. It's your heart beating so hard you think it's going to burst out of your chest. It's hearing your husband's restless breathing beside you, knowing he's fighting the same battle in silence, and being unable to do anything to calm him. My body began to give up. The anxiety was suffocating me. There was a point where I had to accept I couldn't do it alone, and seeking help was another kind of defeat. Going to a psychiatrist, hearing the diagnosis, leaving with a prescription for medication, just to make the anxiety a little more tolerable, just to be able to get out of bed without feeling like the world was collapsing on you. It's not a cure. It's a fragile shield for a war you feel you are losing. And in the midst of that absolute darkness, when you feel you can't go on, that you're going to drown, angels appear. People who, without you asking, extend a hand. In our case, my mother. My mother has been our angel on earth. With food support, with financial help, with that unconditional love that doesn't let you die, that reminds you that despite everything, you are not completely alone. And it was in that desperation, searching for a lifeline, that we found a light. A small, very small light of hope. An option called Live Good. For me, more than a company, I see it as a support network. The possibility of building a team, of fighting together, a feeling that you don't depend on a system that can discard you at any moment. A place where if you want, you can generate income in different ways. I'm not going to lie to you, this isn't a "and they got back on their feet quickly" story. No. This is a real story, and we are still in that process. This isn't selling smoke and mirrors. It's a path of hard work, a path we are beginning to walk. Sometimes moving forward isn't running. Sometimes it's simply getting back up. And here I am today, telling you all this. Not because I like to remember, but because there are stories that need to be told, so that people understand that not everyone who was let go was corrupt. So that people understand that behind every last name, there is a family. So that people understand that this hurts, that this leaves a mark. After our world collapsed, we understood that we couldn't just wait for a miracle. I don't have magic formulas or overnight results to show you. That would be lying to you. What I do have is a path, an option we are working on day by day with effort and discipline, so that our security never again depends on the mood of a boss or an unjust decree. We are building our own shelter, and I want to share with you how we are doing it from scratch. With total honesty, what we discovered and how we are starting to move again, I'll tell you in the next video. If you have identified with this pain, or if you are also looking for a way to stop depending on a thread, comment the word brave. I want to know who we are, those of us who decide not to give up. Subscribe and hit the bell. In the next video, I'll explain step by step the tool we chose to regain our control, without lies and with a lot of work ahead. We are not walking this path alone.